Hey guys, it's Clint Coons here with Anderson Business Advisors. And in this episode, I'm bringing someone on that I've been following for several years. And I've been trying to get him on the show because I know how much information he can deliver. I mean, if you've just been to his YouTube channel, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's when I started following him because I was interested in wholesaling. And I started following, I like to follow people who actually do the same thing that I do. They deliver on content. I mean, they don't hold anything back. And Max Maxwell, he is the real deal here when it comes to wholesaling. In fact, I've actually purchased, my partner and I have purchased several properties from him. He's from an area in which I'm heavily invested in. You've heard me talk about it before in Winston-Salem. This is the guy that knows the area, and it's such a pleasure to have him on. Max, thanks for being here.
Clint, thanks for having me. And I'm a big fan of your work too, because as I get bigger and bigger in business in itself, I use a lot of the information that you put out to make sure I'm set up correctly.
Yeah, like I said, that's important. But before you get to using my services, people have to go through what you've been through,
Yeah.
and start learning how to invest. And for getting started, and what really made this kind of all tie together for me today to do this show with you is I was in the gym. One of my workout buddies, he is a I guess semi-pro ex-basketball player, and he just started following me on YouTube. And he said he didn't know I was on there because I never told him. We just lift weights together. He said, "Man, you got to have money to make money." And I said, "You're so wrong. You got to catch the episode that I'm putting together today." And your life story is really about that, is it not?
100%. I've done so much. I've had a lot of good failures, and I don't know if people can say that, like in the sense they think every failure is something bad. I've had a lot of good failures that led to the point and the time where I was ready to absorb what real estate was going to give me. And I enjoyed every step of the way, from barely graduating high school to going into the military and all that stuff like that. I just had fun my whole life within my failures.
Yeah. But that concept that, to get involved in real estate,
Mhm.
that you have to have it. I don't think that's the case. I mean, you've done it for yourself, and so many other people that follow you've shown them how they can build wealth through real estate, and you don't need a ton of cash to do it.
No, and one thing I tell people why I love wholesaling, no matter what part of real estate you're going to get into, from doing single family homes all the way to building high rises, the idea is learning how to identify a deal. And you're going to need that on any aspect of real estate that you go into. But here's the great thing: if you learn how to identify a good deal never searches for money, money always searches for a good deal. And so if you can possess and identify a good deal, you don't never really have to have money. It's a skill set. It's becoming a nerd about the area. The reason why you and your partner buy from me in Winston-Salem, because we just know the area, and you guys trust in that, and there you go. It produces results.
So for somebody who's watching, they're thinking about getting started and becoming a wholesaler, what are some of the tips that you would recommend that they should be focusing on right away?
One thing is, you got to understand, wholesaling is kind of like a lot of people like to say, like, it's the bottom of real estate investing, which I don't believe so. I think it's the foundation is the correct word. And just know that what you may have when you get when you get into learning about wholesaling, whether you're watching YouTube, podcasts, whatever, however you find your obsession, understand that the skill you're about to acquire is going to take a certain amount of obsession to be able to understand it correctly. And things that you may have looked at in the past as an eyesore, you're now going to be seeing as an opportunity. Because in the business of wholesaling, what we do is we solve problems. We solve problems for people that typically don't fit in the box that society has created. It's like they inherit a home that they live halfway across the country, and it's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They now live in Denver, and they have no plans of ever coming back to grandma's house. And it's, by the way, it's 3 years behind on taxes, nor do they have the money to fix the roof. And so that's when they want to sell it an as is condition to somebody who either is going to flip it themselves, or someone like myself in my early days who would find it and hand it to someone like Clinton, his partner, and they fix it up and they make it into a rental property.
So how do you identify those? Because in this market, where it's hot, you would think that there wouldn't be any wholesale opportunities there because all you do is throw in the MLS and the thing's going to sell in 45 days or less, and you're going to get top dollar.
Well, see, when they talk about market trends, they're only talking about the 90 to 95% of homes that sell the traditional way. They're not talking about the 5% of homes that we deal with on a daily basis. And so no average real estate agent or realtor wants to list a home with a hole in the roof, a bad, or whatever the problem may be. They have been taught as real estate agents to list homes that are nice and pretty and solve the problem. So whether this market is hot or this market is cold, it doesn't matter. And it's real simple to identify something. One rule that I have is I never buy anything that's for sale. And because we solve problems, and if somebody has found a real estate agent to work with and a real estate agent has found a person to work with, that's probably their highest and best use of whatever they're trying to get to. And the MLS is a great tool for agents to be able to showcase their properties to other buyers and sellers. And so I can't solve that problem. But if you're in a tough situation, and I'll give you an example. I'll break down my first deal.
Mm-hmm.
My first deal, how I got into the business is I had a business fail. And at 30 years old, I had to move back home with my mother. And I had left at 17 to the United States Air Force. So at this point, I've been gone home for a long time. So in life, you're thinking, I need to have myself together by 30. That's kind of this number that I think most people in their mind make up. And it was the complete opposite for me. I was moving back home with my mom. And so I got obsessed. I found videos on YouTube, podcasts, and the first thing I can remember standing out was driving for dollars. And it sounds simple, but kind of like that picture behind you, that was what my gas tank was on, literally. And I had no money. It was on E. And so I overdraft one of my debit cards in order to put gas in my car to go to do this driving for dollars thing that I seen online. And so I started to identify properties that I used to drive by. It's the house on the corner with the tall bushes and the overgrown grass and the trees drooping down over the roof. That's when you start to see opportunities for something that used to look like an eyesore. And so I went to the old neighborhood I grew up in on the same street I grew up on. And I went in, I drove on this and I found this house on the corner. Literally, it's exactly what I described. It's in the middle of summer. Well, it's getting towards the end of summer, like around this time, almost 5-6 years ago. And I see overgrown grass, overgrown bushes, and the trees are and I'm just like, this is it. This is exactly what they've been saying. And so I finally get a hold of this person. And within 7 days, I got a signed contract and it's assigned and I make $14,000. Now, this house had tenants that moved out. It was in bad shape. I mean, you just can name everything that you think was wrong. It was not a candidate for the MLS. And there's still properties like that today. I think if a statistic says there's between 12 and 15 million vacant homes in America. I mean, I think there's enough. I mean, yeah. Those are your opportunities right there.
Well, so I think one of the things that I heard in what you were describing too is there was a change in mindset, because how many times have you driven by that house before and you never?
Plenty. It's on the way to the basketball court.
Yeah.
And so I've never paid attention to it. And so what I talked about sometimes is that I used to delete my opportunities. And then when you have that mindset change and you start to see them, you start to see more opportunities than you ever seen. It's like, Clint, you ever buy a new car and you think it's the best thing ever? And as soon as you pull off the lot, you see 3 of them pass by you. Then you go to the gas station, there's 2 parked at the pumps. It's like, wait, I thought I was the only one to have this right now.
Yeah.
And so that's like being able to see your opportunity. And when I was able to see my opportunity, my complete life has changed to living in my mother's house now I have 20 something employees. I have an 8,000 square foot office. I own millions of dollars in real estate, and I control even more than that. And now I'm working on my first large development project, all within the last 5-6 years.
So when you're looking at this, or you talk about this mindset change, how does an individual experience that and go through it? I mean, does it take education, going to your YouTube, watching those countless videos you have that are phenomenal? Or going to your website, the realmaxmaxwell.com. What is it for someone?
You know, it first it's going to be a thing that a person has to accept in themselves. And it's, I want to change. And
Mhm.
now you need to introduce the complete opposite thoughts of what you've always had previous. And so in order to change, you need a challenge. And so you have to challenge your mind of what it used to think on the regular way. And you got to challenge everything. And so if you start to challenge these things, you start to change and you'll start to accept these new normals or start to question why you do things a certain way. And then next thing you know, your mind starts to change. And then you need to hang around people who are where you want to be. And I think that's a big part of it too. And so you got to break out this box. And I know we're in tough times now, but start going to meetings and hanging around other inspired whatever. If you want to be the best hairdresser in the world, go to the best hair shows in the world. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so start hanging around these people. And once you get that mindset change, you become a little you become a little odd to everybody else. And when you become odd to everybody else, you know you're on the right path
Oh, that's
because you're trying to
awesome.
accomplish what between 1% and 5% of people do.
Mhm.
So the other 95, 98% of Americans are going to think that you're crazy. And that's where you're going down the right path.
You're heading out the door and your wife says, "Where are you going, hun?" "Oh, I'm going to a place where people are going to think I'm crazy."
There you go. And that's when you're heading in the right pathway because you got to do something different.
Yeah. All right. So, you start finding these properties, and when you sold your first one, you made 14K. How did you find that person to sell it to, that investor?
Facebook Marketplace. Now,
Mm.
I have developed my tactics since then. But yeah, I didn't know anybody. I didn't really know real estate investors. I didn't know any flippers. The only flippers I knew was Chip and Joanna Gain, and they weren't buying in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so I put it on Facebook Marketplace, and within hours, I had phone calls and people visiting, and I knew I had something. And then a few hours later, I had a lady call me, said her husband and her just finished the flip. And next thing you know, by the weekend, by Sunday, they said they wanted it. Monday, we signed the paperwork. By Monday evening, it was at the attorney's office. And within 7 days, we closed after that. And it was just to somebody that has a negative bank account and you're holding a $14,000 check, feels like you just hit the Powerball.
Oh, I
And
bet.
I never looked back. I never looked back from that day.
But there's things though. I mean, so let's say that I'm driving around, I've never
Mhm.
done this before, and I find one of these houses. How do you go about, would you recommend somebody approach that seller so that you don't scare them off? Or maybe there's other people out there I'm competing with. Is there a way to
Mhm.
cut through the noise and get them on the line?
You know, listen, in any business you get into, there's going to be competition, and competition is good because it validates something that you're doing. And so the people like to put out tactics and things like that. And I think at the end, there are some tactics, but the reality is have a genuine conversation with another human. It's real simple. Hey, I'm driving in your neighborhood. I see that you have a house. I think you own this house. And if you can't find the person, ask the neighbors on either side.
Mhm.
Knock on the door itself. I mean, I found a lot of people that couldn't be found by the neighbors knowing. And you just have, listen, I'm interested in purchasing this house. Are you interested in selling it? And if they say yes, then have a just genuine conversation. Well, when's the last time you lived there? Was it a rental property or it was? What happened? What were they paying? What were the tenants like? Like, if you could fix this house up, what would you do to it? And it's just a real genuine conversation. I've had people sell me their house and I've not been the highest offer. And it's just because I was real with them. And here's another tip. Don't, if you're new, tell them you're new. I know that sounds counterproductive. Say, hey, look, I got a little bit of money. I want to get into my first flip. So if you can help me, if you can sell me your home, if you're interested in selling, it'd be cool if I could flip this house first. And then you'd be surprised. The human instinct is to help people. Naturally, it's to help people. And so you might have this guy that comes in a suit and tie, buttoned up. Yeah, we own 140 houses in the neighborhood. They're going to sell it to you because their natural interest is, well, I can help this person out. And this person may not be my highest offer, but I feel great helping this person. And that's just who we are as humans. There's some bad ones, but majority of us are great people.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there before selling a truck a couple of years ago. And I met with this family, young family, he's in the military,
Mhm.
just got stationed here in Washington at McCord. And I sold him the truck for a couple $1,000s under what I could have sold it for. And
Yeah.
while we're sitting there doing the deal, a physician pulls up in a Porsche. He goes, man, I'll give you $10,000 cash for that thing right now, more than what he's paying you. It's like, not interested.
I'd rather help this guy.
Exactly. And at the time, when I did it, you feel good about that you're able to help somebody like that. And like you said, that comes through, and a lot of people want to do that. And what I noticed when I first started watching and following your videos on YouTube was those conversations you would take people through, where you have those students, in your office there, and you would get on the phone with people, and the way you would talk to them, it was so different than what I'd seen before from other people who talk about wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different approach that I think cuts through that noise. And I'm glad you said that, because I think that's the greatest stumbling block for people in trying to connect and figure out a way that they can make money at this. Because I'm sure you've got the same things I get all the time. Hey, I see you own a property here. I'm an investor. I want to buy that. Would you be willing to sell me the property? And it seems too robotic. It's not.
It's very robotic.
Yeah.
Some of my best salespeople have lived in Winston-Salem for 20 plus years. They know the principal at this place. They know the lady who serves at breakfast at this place. And they're just down to earth, genuine people. And my best salespeople just have conversations with people. And if the conversation goes and where we can help each other, we do it. And even if I can help you and not profit from it, I'm okay. In this time, we've helped people get rental assistance. We've helped landlords get their, I mean, I understand you don't want to sell, but you said you're 3 months behind. How are you going to make this happen? Oh, well, there's a program with our city that if you get your tenant to submit an application and you do this, then they'll pay the back rent. And then you don't need me. And so that is just, and that's karma, and it goes around in circles. But, this is a good business. It's a simple business. It's not easy, in a sense that you're going to have to put in the work. But I promise you that if you put this work in early in this business, you're unlimited when it comes to real estate. And so I've done everything from finding single family to empty to now I know how to get entitlements on a development deal and put $200,000 in due diligence in order to, sell something for a lot more money. And so that all just came from learning how to flip a small home on a piece of paper, all the way to the point where I can build, 64 apartments, and so you just got to put in the work, and it's real simple. Now, wherever you want to be in real estate, I think the journey starts here. And Clint, I'm for sure you have people from all walks of life come to you, and I do too. And I tell the same guy that comes to me with $250,000 to the same guy that comes to me with a quarter. If you start here and you get obsessed with this, you're going to go a long way. I don't care if you have no money or all the money in the world. You got to learn how to identify a deal. And so like you and your partner, you buy deals in Winston-Salem, but if I bring you something that's not good, you're not going to buy it. Mm-hmm. And so you know how to identify a good deal. I know how to identify a great deal, and it all makes sense for everybody.
So if somebody, is driving around, are there some red flags they should look out for when they're getting started in wholesaling?
Red flags, I wouldn't say there's many red flags. I mean, you're just really going to go after something that you have tried to ignore for a long time. And that's the house that looks a certain way and the grass a certain way. But this is a numbers game. I know I get real excited speaking about this, but you're going to have to talk to many people. You're going to get many no's, and you're going to get a few yeses that may convert into you actually buying their home. But, the strategy is it's real simple. Once you talk to a person, and once you guys can agree on what was a price, and there's videos out there that says, hey, this is how you evaluate what a good deal is. And a lot of people get hung up on the repair cost because, it's different. What it changed costs for you in Washington to fix a bathroom is different here in North Carolina. And so don't get caught up on a lot of stuff. What I would say is, even though you're becoming obsessed with the new topic, move fast, move in the right direction, and you're going to make mistakes. But once you identify that house, identify the owner, you have a conversation, you agree on a price, you write a contract. That contract is then assignable to somebody else. And so my team may get it on the contract at X, and it's worth this amount. And I assign my rights to this contract to Clint and his team, and they go in there cleaned up, do what it do, they keep it, or they turn around and flip it. And so you guys do a lot of buy and holds. So those are even better people because they're willing to spend a little bit more money to get it done. And so it's a real simple process. It's not going to be the easiest thing you've ever done, but it's worth
Well,
it.
when you talk about, you get it under contract, you assign it over, those types of forms, those documents,
Yeah.
a lot of attorneys don't know anything about them. What do you tell people? Where would they need to go to find those basic tools so that, hey, if I've got an interested seller, then it's
Mhm.
like, what the hell do I do now? You
Yeah.
know?
And so I try to shy away from giving as far as like contracts out. And what
Mhm.
I say is, here's a template that you may need to take to somebody in your area who knows this in type of investing, can craft something. But what I typically tell somebody is, look, find somebody local in your area that's already doing this, that is already working with attorneys that are real estate investors and wholesalers, and ask them for their contract. Can I get a copy of your contract so that when I get something under contract and I send it to you, you know it's legit because I used your paperwork? Use your local title companies or use the local title attorneys that work with wholesalers and ask them if they have a version of a contract they would be comfortable closing in their office. And that solves all the problem because attorneys make money and title companies make money closing your deals. And so those contracts they feel comfortable using, they would love to give them to you because it costs them nothing. They already got it made.
You know, and that's what astounds me. I get so many calls from clients or future clients. Hey, what do I need to bring to the title company, or how do they need to look? I'm like, have you just call them and ask them? And then if they say they want X, Y, and Z, give them X, Y, and Z, and that's it. Don't give them A, B, and C.
Correct. And typically
Because
they'll
when,
give it to you to give it back to them.
yeah, that's right. Wow. So, you've trained thousands of people
Yeah.
on how to wholesale. And so if I was someone who was interested in learning more, I mean,
Mhm.
other than your YouTube channel, which like I said, you give it all away for free,
Yeah.
where should someone go if they wanted to engage with you more?
So a good buddy of mine who's been in this business for 12 years, his name is Nazar. He's in the Charlotte market, and he's been wholesaling for a while, and he inspired me to start keeping rentals. And as
Mhm.
I visited him one day, and he was getting his triplex ready for remodel for re-rent, and I was like, man, I'm the wholesaling guy, and I'm wholesaling a lot of properties, but I wasn't keeping any. And so his inspiration of showing me his rental portfolio allowed me to start keeping some. So about a year ago, him and I decided to put together a training course because some people need structure in order to learn. They need instruction. They need a step-by-step guide. And some people that could watch my YouTube videos, thousands of them has messaged me and said, I know you don't know me. I watched your videos and I took your steps and I made some money. And so I love that. That's great. And so we put together a course and it's Max and Nas, which is Max and NAS.com. So maxandnas.com. And then you can go there, sign up for our course. It's like $500. But what's cool is more than like and it's $500 is nothing. Like we have fun
Yeah.
doing it. It's more of a community. There's like 1,000 people in there. We meet weekly on Zooms. We have a special Facebook group, and it's just like it's fun because not only am I teaching my students are doing so well that I'm buying deals from them. And it's just like, and for me, it's rewarding more than the $500. I'm like, cool, I just bought another rental property. They make some money. I get to add something to my portfolio. And so it's just like a community of people. And we got people all across the country who are in this group. And it's just fun. It's something that just helps me pass time by.
Yeah. And I mean, people are at you. We were just talking about where do you find agreements and things like
Mhm.
that. Well, joining a group like this,
It's all in there.
yeah, you're going to be exposed to other people too in your area. Something that's interesting. I've been following you lately. You've been getting involved in Ghana. You mind
Yeah.
telling us a little bit about that?
I've always, Clint, I'm a student of the game and I'm
Mhm.
always trying to expand. I feel like once you start to get comfortable, you got to shift some things and get uncomfortable. And so I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. So I started visiting Ghana with Nas. I went to Ghana with Nas this year and we went for like a vacation. And I end up in a real estate investing 2 day investing with, diaspora and all these people. And then I started getting interested and I said, look, I can build some projects here. And then I went home. The next month I was back in Ghana. And so Ghana is a real cool, it's like the Western gateway to Africa. And it's a real cool country in period. And we were staying in the city of Accra. And so I'm interested in doing some affordable housing in Ghana. And because their credit system is young, their mortgage system is young. And so there is a need for affordable housing for people. And the cool thing about going to Ghana and most of your other countries like that is you see, it's like if you go there and you were in business in the United States and you go there, you say, I've seen this movie before. I know what's about to happen next. Let me get ahead of it. And so I know that we have a housing shortage crisis ourselves when it comes to affordability. And I know Ghana's in the same pathway and it's going to be even worse. So I'm like, hey, look, let's start a development team here. Let's get some development going. So we're working on a small 10 unit project right now. And once that's finished and I get my feet wet there and I start to learn more about how it works, and then we're going to do something bigger and better and just even more and more. So I'm probably going to be going to Ghana next month again and probably stay for a month or so. And then, we'll keep going. And this is just a learning process. I'm having fun doing it, Clint.
Yeah, it keeps you always got to find those things that keep you motivated.
Absolutely.
To want to do more. Hey man, this has been great. I really truly appreciate you coming on. You're just such a breath of fresh air, and for anybody that that's watching this, you really have to check out his stuff. I cannot attest enough of how phenomenal his education is on his YouTube channel. Go to his website, subscribe. I mean, it's only going to help you with your investing. If you know people that want to get started in real estate, give them his information. Get there and start educating yourself. Hey, Max, is there anything else you want to leave with the viewers before we go?
I'll say this, Clint, as I started to climb the ladder, your name came up a lot more. So you're a legend in the real estate game and that all of that. So, kudos for you. And thanks for putting out the content you do as well, too, and educating the people. And, your guys always come into our masterminds to help us, keep growing. So I'll just say appreciate you and I appreciate everybody watching.
Thanks, Max.
Absolutely. Thank you.